So, yeah, I'm sure you can understand our need to cut corners around here.
In this video, I'll use two scenes from the movie American Beauty to demonstrate a few of the cinematic techniques filmmakers use to visually tell a story. At the beginning of American Beauty, the main character Lester Burnham is disillusioned with his life. At home, he and his wife hate each other, while his teenage daughter cannot stand either of them. At work, he is stuck in a boring and meaningless job writing for a media magazine.
And in a way, I'm dead already.
The first scene we will look at appears early on in the movie. In this scene, Lester is meeting with Brad, his company's new efficiency expert. Brad is telling him that his work is not up to standard and that his job is at risk.
I'm trying to level with you. This is your one chance to save your job.
What's interesting here is how differently the two men are presented. Let's look at Lester first. As this is a wide shot, Lester occupies a small portion of the frame, and because the shot is also a high-angle shot, he looks even smaller. He is in the middle of a mostly empty room, totally exposed. He is slouching in a chair, his body language sending a message of weakness and resignation, and his facial expression shows his exasperation and frustration. In terms of decor and lighting, the room itself is ugly, utilitarian, dimly lit, poorly decorated, and awfully dull and grey. Behind Lester, there is a dying potted plant stuck in a corner and a painting that is too small for the wall. The ugly decor reveals what kind of company Lester works for, one that sucks the life out of its employees. In terms of composition, the framing of the shot is ugly as well. Lester is positioned in the center bottom of the frame, which is a strange place to put the main subject. There's far too much headroom above him, his feet seem to be cut off, and above him, a ceiling light juts down into the frame. It's an ugly shot in an ugly, dark room, a kind of visual manifestation of Lester's dissatisfaction with his empty and meaningless life. Now, let's look at Brad. Here the shot is a mid-shot. Brad occupies a large portion of the frame. The low-angle mid-shot emphasizes his position of power, especially when juxtaposed with the high-angle wide shot of Lester that we just looked at. Visually, Brad is presented as being dominant. His posture is straight, he is younger, he is dressed more fashionably, and his facial expressions reveal smugness and contempt. Behind him, the vertical Venetian blinds create a visual pattern that calls to mind the bars of a jail cell or cage. To Lester, his job is like a prison. And note the props around Brad, his desk, his large, brightly shining nameplate, the gold pens, the picture and its frame, the Venetian blinds. Almost everything is straight edges, angles, and points. Everything is hard, sharp, threatening. In short, the visual elements in this scene work together to emphasize three things. First, Brad's dominance over Lester. Second, the soul-destroying nature of their workplace. And third, Lester's hopelessness and vulnerability.
Exactly.
Midway through the film, the two men meet again. By this point in the movie, Lester has decided he needs to make a change. In this scene, Lester is quitting his dead-end job and blackmailing the company into paying him off.
What do you want?
1 year's salary with benefits.
That's not going to happen.
Well, what do you say I throw in a little sexual harassment charge to boot?
Against who?
Against you.
If you compare these two reverse angle shots, you will see that Brad is no longer shown to be dominant. In the shot over Lester's shoulder, Lester seems to be looking down at Brad. And in the shot over Brad's shoulder, Brad's head is out of focus and slightly off-screen. Brad is no longer so important, no longer so powerful. And all those sharp edges, the pointy gold pens, the massive nameplate, those have become small, unremarkable pieces of stationery. They no longer pose any threat. Lester's posture is now relaxed and confident. He is in control. The room is brighter. Lester is no longer trapped in gloomy darkness. The shots are now more attractive in terms of composition and framing, and this also reflects Leicester's more hopeful mindset. He is changed, and these changes are shown through the use of a variety of cinematic techniques. In the first scene, these techniques highlight the power differential between Brad and Lester and show Lester's disappointment, frustration, and vulnerability. In the second scene, they show the extent to which Lester has become more hopeful and confident. In this video, I've only mentioned some of the cinematic elements related to mise-en-scène and cinematography, and haven't mentioned things like dialogue, editing, sound, or music. There is a lot more to discuss when interpreting a scene, but hopefully this video can help you better understand how different visual elements can work together to help tell a story.
Nope. I'm just an ordinary guy with nothing to lose.
Hey, Marty, I know you got a lot of problems downtown, but I've got a couple of problems at the house I wish you could take care of.
One, I've got some cats parking in front of the house. I can't get down to the office, and that garbage truck next to the office has got to be moved.
So what I need is a red zone. It's a simple thing you
Honey,
can take care of. You've done
honey,
it
would you
before.
come here a minute,
Okay?
please?
Do it.
Please. Listen, I run back and forth for 18 hours a day between patients who might die and patients who will die. And if I find time to write an order for bedpans, I write it fast. So you will forgive me if I don't feel like being judged by some guy in his 30s who still wears shorts to work. Now, go ahead and say the only 3 words I want to hear coming out of your mouth.
Sign here, please. POV shots can be used to show magnitude, distance, or other perspective influence measurements that may be of interest to an audience.
Kowalski, do you copy?
In this example from the movie Chronicle, the entire movie is shot from characters' point of views through the guise of cameras.
So what, you want to go out and start a charity or something? It's lame.
I mean, why is that lame?
I don't know.
Excuse me, Miss Crawford. Where should I go?
Follow me.
You, Mr. Sinatra. Here is the magnificently
Hello, how are you? Nice to see you.
Directly for the screen. Our story and screenplay by
You're right in there.
difficult Italian name. The fourth and
Hello, hello.
Next award will be for the Best Actress. And I am pleased to announce that this year, in addition to the Oscar, the winning actress will also receive 3 glorious days at the Sands Hotel in Las Vegas. To make the presentation as last year's winner for his provocative performance in Judgment at Nuremberg, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Maximilian Schell.
Where are you going?
I won't be long.
Ben arrivato, signor Schiara. Spero abbia fatto buon viaggio.
Just don't be conspicuous or you won't fit in.
Clearly, I've never been there, but this feels like situation. Obviously, a major malfunction. This is
Well, I'm not a crook.
Robert Kennedy was shot in that ballroom.
We are free at last.
A sniper has fired at President Kennedy. Never found.
Something never before experienced. 1941, a date which will live in...
And we continue the season's final edition of our Maxwell House Good News 1930. Walter Winchell. Good evening, Mr. North American. All the ships at sea. Let's go to press.
W9GFO.
CQ. This is W9GFO here. Come back. CQ. CQ. This is W9GFO here. Come back.
Why is David Fincher in my head? I was thinking about this a lot while watching his new Netflix series, Mindhunter. I'd watch an episode or two, go to the kitchen to get a drink, and everything would look Fincher-esque, like my eyes were mimicking his camera movements somehow. First I was creeped out, then I was impressed, and then I was curious. What about his filmmaking causes this effect? Because there are plenty of other amazing stylistic directors whose visual styles don't hijack your senses like Fincher does. And it's the same with all his movies and TV shows. I checked. I went back through all of them to see if I could locate the source of this quality. And I think I found it here. Did you see that? It's a very small thing, and it's easy to miss, but the more I watch Fincher's work, the more it stands out as a key element of his visual language. What is it, exactly? Well, it's a camera move. In this case, a tilt. In this case, a pan. In this case, a tracking shot. And in this case, all three. These things are the most common tools in the filmmaker's toolbox. You can find them in pretty much any film you watch. But Fincher has a very specific way of using them, which falls in line with his reputation as a perfectionist. Essentially, what he tries to do is have the camera exactly match the velocity and direction of the moving character in the frame. When the character stops, the camera stops too, and starts again when the person starts to move again. The matching movement here isn't just close. It's perfect. So perfect, in fact, that it must involve some kind of timed rehearsal with the actors, which I learned when I tried to do it myself earlier.
Okay.
This is no doubt a part of the reason why Fincher is known for doing so many takes. It takes patience and a good camera operator to get these moves exactly right, and they're happening all the time, everywhere, in little shots, in between shots, shots you notice and shots you don't. And whether they register or not, the effect starts to accumulate in your mind. All of a sudden, Fincher's reality is your reality. Now, I think there's a very good reason why this happens, and it's a bit counterintuitive when you consider that Fincher's camera work is often regarded as impersonal or coldly omniscient, even by Fincher himself. I think that's somewhat disingenuous, because what these shots do is effectively lock you into the behavior of the characters. You really feel it when someone moves around the space that they're in. Even small gestures like a shrug or deflated shoulders, even the slightest change in posture is registered by this camera. In this way, I think Fincher's cinematography is a lot more personal than even he makes out. It might happen just below the level of consciousness, but I'm much more in sync with this character than I am with, for example, this character. It's funny, Fincher's actors have to move in these very deliberate lines at steady speeds probably ironed out by rehearsal, but the result, at least for me, is a greater connection to the character than something that is more free-form, less exact. I mean, it's no surprise that Fincher would pay attention to details like this. Listen to the advice he gave Robin Wright when she directed her first episode of House of Cards.
Every scene you direct, every scene you act in, it's the same thing. What's that? He said. Behavior over time. It's a fraction. So behavior is the most important thing of every piece of material that you read, that you perform in, and you direct. Look at the behavior.
David Fincher is obsessed with behavior. He knows that the way a person moves is a key part of who they are and what they want. He knows that if a person is running and the camera follows that running exactly, then it's like the audience is running too. He knows that the truth of exasperation is in the speed someone lurches forward. He knows that fear can express itself in exactly how slow someone stands up, or that when a person floats back in astonishment, the camera should float with them. It's not a coincidence that emotion has the word motion in it. Emotions express themselves physically. What Fincher does is put his camera in lockstep with the body to capture that physicality, and as a result, we develop this almost unconscious connection with his characters. But the trick works almost too well. You start to notice behavior and movement in the real world, but in the way that Fincher stages them, deliberate, steady, and precise. For a little while, at least, David Fincher hijacks your eyes. Hey everybody, thank you so much for watching my video on Fincher. If you want to learn more about him, I definitely recommend watching my friend Tony's video on what he doesn't do in his movies, which is super interesting. Also, Captain Christian did something on the invisible digital effects in Fincher films. I'll link both of those below. Definitely watch those. This episode of The Nerd Writer was brought to you by Squarespace. If you want to make a website and you want it to be just a really easy process, Squarespace has some beautiful award-winning designer templates to choose from that makes that process super simple. It's got 24-hour customer service, no upgrades, nothing to install, no patches ever, and picking your domain name is really, really easy too. You can start your free trial at squarespace.com, and if you use the offer code NERDWRITER, definitely use that offer code, you can get 10% off your first purchase. Thanks guys, I'll see you next time.
Hi, my name is Monahan, I teach film, and I'm sick and tired of the misuse of the word zoom. Oftentimes when people say that the camera zooms in on something, what they really mean is the camera tracks in on something. So today, we're here to clarify and demonstrate the difference between a zoom and moving camera. The difference comes down to movement and magnification. Moving camera shots, such as a dolly or tracking shot, actually physically move the camera, whereas a zoom lens, despite its zippy title, makes the subject larger or smaller, not by moving the camera, but simply by shifting the lens elements inside to change focal lengths, and thus magnifying the view of the subject. As a result, the shots look very different from one another. Don't believe me? All right then, we'll prove it. We'll zoom in first. As our subject, Shelley, gets bigger in your frame, you'll notice that her spatial relationship with the people and stuff around her doesn't change. That's why a zoom looks artificial. Nothing and nobody's relative positions shift at all. Everything just gets bigger. When we zoom back out, keep an eye on everything's relative position. Shelley, the walkway behind her, the railing, the light globes, the atrium's ground floor, everything is going to stay locked in the same relative position. Okay, let's go. See what I mean? Nothing's position in relation to anything else shifts in the slightest. But now, when we enlarge Shelley by moving the camera, watch how everything's relative positions constantly change. Emmy will emerge from behind Julia, the railing will slide over the lights, and Shelley's background will shift. Let's do it. Shelley grows in frame, but here comes Emmy. Notice the lights passing under the railing. See how the ground floor is revealed behind Shelley. This is why the moving camera dominates most motion pictures and the zoom is relegated mostly to home movies. Moving camera more closely replicates our visual expectations of movement. See what I mean? So there. But that doesn't mean that zooms and dollies can't get along. In fact, sometimes they can collaborate with spectacular results. Some films like Martin Scorsese's Goodfellas and Steven Spielberg's Jaws create shots in which the foreground characters stay the same size in frame, but the background grows bigger and bigger. It's a freaky looking shot for freaked out situations. Here's how they do it. In order to get the background to grow, they use a zoom lens to shift between a short focal length to a long focal length. The problem is that the foreground also grows. Here comes the freaky part. If we want the foreground to remain relatively stable while the background shifts, we have to move the camera as we zoom to compensate for the zoom's magnification and keep our foreground subject Brendan's size the same. Right now we're zoomed into a telephoto, which has magnified everything. So next we'll zoom out to a wide-angle lens, shrinking our background while we dolly in to keep Brendan's size relatively stable, causing a disconnect between the foreground and the background. Here goes. Cool, huh? Now we'll reverse the process, zooming in to magnify the background while we dolly out to compensate for that magnification and keep Brendan's size the same. Notice how the background grows, but the foreground stays the same. This technique is great for intense moments of realization, either negative, oh my God, I left a pot of gasoline boiling on the stove, or positive, yes, Citizen Kane really is the greatest film ever made. This is what it looks like on set.
And action.
Glenn, the guy with the beard, controls the motorized zoom lens in coordination with Chip operating the moving camera, while Andrea keeps everything in focus.
Nice. A little jerky. Pretty good. And action. And cut.
Good.
The zoom and moving camera, two different techniques with different effects on cinematic space and perspective. But combine them just right, and the effect is pure movie magic.
Okay, that's good. That'll give you a lot of depth of field. Okay, all right, you guys ready for a rehearsal?
What you see?
Okay, gently, gently, gently. All right. I'm good. You guys good? Jesse. All right. 5, 6, and 2. Almost 5, 6, and 7. Between 5, 6, and 2.
I'm good.
All right. All legs, no back. Let's go this way, guys.
That's sweet. Yeah.
Pretty close, huh?
Yeah, yeah.
Через 2 дня уже. Ну куда? Ну подожди. Через 2 дня он уже будет на месте и напишет. Коль, а Вероника где? Смотри, какой пойми. Ну что? Пиши. Каждый день пиши. Ладно? Сергеич! Наплотнее! На цветную капусту у кого?
Я солёнку сначала, воронья не встречала, а теперь не все приятно.
полевой почтой. Обязательно. Давай, Мать, давай. До свидания. Больше не увидимся.
And fold.
Excuse me, please.
Fold.
Raise.
Raise. 500,000. Fold.
Thank you.
Fold. Fold. wins.
Deal me out.
Hören Sie, wenn Sie keine Papiere haben, dann können wir Sie nicht nach Hause bringen oder jemanden benachrichtigen. Dann müssen Sie hier bleiben und warten, bis das Sozialamt kommt und sich um Sie kümmert. Wollen Sie das? Wollen Sie wirklich hier bleiben?